race. We have overcast skies this afternoon, temperature at 76 degrees. The forecast is for an 80% chance of rain. It rained earlier here, but the track is dry and we are almost set to go. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Bob Jenkins, and welcome to Dover Downs. Busch Grand National racing today, the 25th race out of 29 on the schedule for 1989. In the 24 previous races, we have had 15 different winners, and in the most recent 10 races, we've had 10 different winners. And what this has done is create a tremendous points battle within the Busch Grand National division. With more on that story, my two broadcast partners in the booth today, Ned Jarrett and Benny Parsons.
Bob, it is a very close point battle. Last year's Busch Grand National champion, Tommy Ellis, trying to repeat again, has just a 9-point lead over Tommy Houston, who has never won this championship. Jack Ingram, who has won it 5 times, is only 91 points behind. And Rob Moroso trying to win his first national driving title. And L.D. Ottinger, who has won it twice before, is only 132 points behind. He'd like to have his 3rd championship. But, Benny, this track is tough, a tough one to gain points on.
Dover Downs is called the Monster Mile, folks. Now, I don't want to confuse you, but there's another race going on today. There's 8 guys from New England, the Busch Grand National North. They're down here. They're trying to decide their championship. It's worth $25,000. Jamie Albee can lock it up today. So there's lots of racing going on. We're going to watch all 3 races today for you.
And we'll certainly keep you posted. Not too many races left on the Busch Grand National Series this year. For more on that, let's go to the pits and Dr. Jerry Punch.
Well, thank you very much, Ned. In fact, there's only a handful, 5, count of 5, counting today the race here at Dover, Delaware. And 3 of those 5, as you see, are on speedways of 1 mile or longer. The other 2 are on the same short track, Martinsville, Virginia. Now, Tommy Ellis, the current point leader, has a 9-point lead over Houston. He has been awfully strong at Martinsville on the short tracks. Tommy Houston, on the other hand, has been very, very poor on the speedways. In fact, our last ESPN telecast, he lost the point lead at Darlington by finishing 17th. So Houston needs to run well today and have a shot at getting back in the point championship. Let's go up pit road to Jackaroo.
Well, Jerry, we talk about the fact that this is called the Monster Mile as the cars go behind me. But if you can conquer the Monster Mile here, it does wonders for your career. Remember Kyle Petty, who came here and did so well, went on to become an established Winston Cup veteran. Rick Mast, who had such an emotional victory here in Busch Grand Nationals, now showing promise here in this division and in Winston Cup. But probably the driver that has put his car on the pole today has the most emotional remembrances of this race. 1 year ago, he drove his brother's car, that of Darrell Waltrip, and Michael Waltrip went to victory lane, and he admits that it changed his entire career. He's a more mature race driver. He's won on the Busch Grand National circuit, and many say it's not too far away before he'll be in victory lane and Winston Cup racing as well. Today, he has a good shot at winning this race and becoming a repeat winner here at the Monster Mile. Let's check back upstairs with Bob Jenkins.
All right, thank you very much, Jack. And let's take a look now at the starting lineup for today's 200-lap race here at Dover. The pole will be Michael Waltrip at 143.209. Kenny Wallace to the outside in car number 36. In row number 2, it's Tommy Ellis in car number 99. Outside of row number 2, Darrell Waltrip in car number 17. The third row, number 1, Mark Martin, and 25, Rob Moroso. The fourth row, Tom Peck in number 96 and Phil Parsons in number 55. The fifth row, Harry Gant in car number 7 and 34, Randy LaJoy. And we'll let you take a look at the rest of the starting lineup as the cars come down the straightaway here. The yellow light atop the pace car is out, indicating that next time around, if all is well, they'll get the green flag and set off for an afternoon of racing here at Dover on a very overcast afternoon.
Round and round they go, and how they'll finish, nobody knows. But most NASCAR winners know.
Miles of racing set to go as Michael Waltrip leads them down the backstretch with Kenny Wallace in the green and white number 36 alongside.
As always, it's the Busch Grand National drivers against the Winston Cup drivers. Kenny Wallace, the leading contender in the Busch Grand National on the outside pole. Let's see if he can get ahead of Michael Waltrip.
Tremendous field of cars lined up, not only in the Busch Grand National division, but also, as Benny indicated in the open, the Busch Grand National North Stars from New England are here, and they have their own battle going on within the race. The pace car now is in turn number 4, and it pulls off the track and dips to pit road. The crowd here on the main straightaway stands getting ready for the green flag to fly, and there it is. The green is out. The race is on from Dover. moving through the first and second corners. Everybody appears to be through there okay, and Michael Waltrip has grabbed the lead as they go down the backstretch and into turn number 3. A great battle for second position as side by side are Tommy Ellis and Kenny Wallace, with Mark Martin there in number 1. Full speed, not quite a record, 143.209, but nevertheless, the speeds have increased here well on the first lap.
And look at Michael Walter pull away as these other cars battle for second, third, fourth, and fifth position. That's Kenny Wallace on the outside in car number 36 as Tommy Ellis tries to get by him, but he just hasn't been able to muscle enough strength to do it.
Just a great battle going on back here. Second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth running right together on the racetrack. It is Kenny Wallace in number 36 who has the second position at the moment, with Tommy Ellis in number 99 running third. Then side by side, Mark Martin in car number 1 and Darrell Waltrip in 17 as Darrell's car bottoms out just a little.
That's the spark that you saw on the rear of Darrell Waltrip's automobile. Bottomed out as he went in the third corner. It made the car go up the hill a little bit and gave Mark Martin the room that he needed to get by.
Following Darrell Waltrip there is the number 25 car of Rob Moroso, who led the Busch Grand National Division for quite a while, but has fallen back to fourth. And now here is Tommy Ellis challenging Mark Martin.
Well, actually, Mark Martin came up on the outside of him, Bob, and made a beautiful pass on the outside and was pulled away. Darrell Waltrip now wants to try that. He said, hey, if it works for him, maybe it'll work for me.
Look at the lead, though, that Michael Waltrip has put on the rest of the field as he has stretched out his advantage by almost a half a straightaway over the second place car of Kenny Wallace, Mark Martin, and the others.
Yeah, he's got to look in his rear mirror and say, what in the world's going on? I know that my car would run fast, but I didn't know it would run that fast. But part of it is because of the jockeying that's been going on for seconds.
You know, we've talked to several drivers all week, and we said, can you lay back at Dover? Can you pace yourself? And they said, no, you've got to be aggressive, got to go after it. And look, Mark Martin, he's trying to go after on the outside of Kenny Wallace, but look at Michael Waltrip. He is attacking all by himself, running extremely hard this early in the race.
This is the second time this year that Michael Waltrip had won a pole position in this division, and he has won one race, that at Indianapolis at IRP on the 5/8 mile track. It is still a good battle for second position between Kenny Wallace in number 36 and Mark Martin in number 1. Let's go to Jack Arute. How's the weather down there? Oh, we have a spin coming off of corner number 4. One car into the wall. It's number 38. That would be the Ed St. Angelo car. Nails the wall inside coming off of corner number 4, and the yellow flies over the track for the first time.
Also involved was Jamie Albee, who's leading the point standings in the Busch Grand National North Series.
Well, we know that Jamie Albee did not want this because he can lock the championship up. He did not need an accident this early in the race.
His car has gone on around the racetrack, but he was involved. But the car number, here he is coming around. You can see the damage to the right front of his car. Maybe they'll be able to make some repairs. You can see smoke coming from the tire. Apparently, one of the right front fender is rubbing against that tire.
We'll go back and take a look at it. There's the 38 car into the wall, the inside wall coming off corner number 4.
It's hard to tell what happened. I will speculate that St. Angelo lost control coming off the corner, and Jamie Albee tried to get underneath him and made contact with his car. There we see some of the fender. Ooh, and someone ran over it, and that can puncture a tire. That's a bad deal.
The driver is out of the car at St. Angelo. Okay, after that crash, the top 5, Michael Waltrip leading, Kenny Wallace running second, Mark Martin is third, Darrell Waltrip fourth, and Tommy Ellis fifth at the end of 7 of 200 laps. Of 200 laps completed. Michael Waltrip, Kenny Wallace, Mark Martin, Darrell Waltrip, and Tommy Ellis in the Ames Peak Performance 200 Busch Grand National race from Dover Downs International Speedway. Our Speed World coverage is being brought to you by the First Name and Filters Purolator Exceptional Protection for exceptional vehicles like yours. By Quaker State Motor Oil. The big Q stands for quality. Always has, always will. By the Die Hard battery, now with more power when you need it most. And by Ames Department Stores. We are under caution. We had a car into the wall at St. Angelo, hit the wall here in the main straightaway, and then Jamie Albee also involved. This is what happened to him as the car came down the backstretch.
Just a piece of the metal flew off of the right front. and he's been in and out the pits. Let's go to Dr. Jerry Punch for a report on that.
Well, Jamie Albee did not want to start today the way he started this race here at Dover, Delaware. The current point leader in the North Series, only a 49-point margin, and now in front of his bumper and part of his front grille and fender have been peeled away. This is part of what I have in my hand here, and the 36-year-old Vermont driver would like to be able to get a good finish here today. He needs a good finish to get a chance to win the championship. Let's go up pit road to Jackaroo.
Well, Jerry, as we get ready for the start of the green flag, all of these drivers, and the green is out as the cars come to full song. All of the drivers are gambling on the fact that this race will only go to 100 miles. The weather is beginning to get very threatening at the present time, and they've radioed back to their crews that this may be a 100-lap sprint. Bob?
Because of the noise, if you were unable to hear Jack completely, he's simply talking about the fact that the weather is not looking real good and the drivers are out for a 100-lap shoot, because if it should start raining at the end of 100 laps, it will be a complete race. Great racing going on. It is still Michael Waltrip who is leading. However, Mark Martin now has gotten into second position. Darrell Waltrip third, Tommy Ellis fourth, and Kenny Wallace has dropped back to fifth position.
All the way to fifth from second on the restart. Here's Randy LaJoy in car number 34 trying to move on the inside of the Kenny Wallace car, but he can't do it. Look at Phil Parsons make a move on the car number 55, but he couldn't quite do it that time. He was running very strong in practice this morning. Watch out for him today.
Indeed he was. Number 55 being driven by Phil Parsons. Keep an eye on him as the race progresses. That yellow car right behind Phil is Harry Gant, carrying some new sponsorship today and some new colors also. That car is sponsored by Wheels Discount Auto Supply Cars. It's a supply stores rather. It's a yellow, red, and blue color scheme. And here's Bobby Hamilton slowing down. The most recent winner in Busch Grand National competition at Richmond has a problem, and he's dropped low on the racetrack.
Just last week at Richmond, Virginia, won his very first Busch Grand National win.
And here come the leaders off the fourth corner, so Hamilton is going to go down a lap as he stops in his pit area. Michael Waltrip continues to lead Mark Martin, and Michael isn't stretching out the advantage quite as much as he did before we had that first yellow.
No, he's Mark Martin. By side with Kenny Wallace earlier, that allowed Michael Waltrip to pull away, and it looks like that Mark Martin's car is at least equal to that of Michael Waltrip.
And back in third position, the number 17 car driven by Darrell Waltrip, and the current points leader and defending champion in the Busch Grand National Division, Tommy Ellis in car number 99. Right behind him is Kenny Wallace in 36.
I would say that Tommy Ellis feels that he's in a very comfortable position where he's running there. His car is running good, and he has Darrell Waltrip, a three-time Winston Cup champion, right in front of him. He knows Darrell is not going to do anything foolish. He's a good fellow to follow out there, so he won't get in trouble and maintain that point lead.
Tommy Ellis doing a great job protecting that point lead, especially running fourth. His contenders all behind him.
Now there's action going on behind Tommy Ellis and Darrell Waltrip. It is this battle between number 34 Randy LaJoy and the number 7 car of Harry Gant, and right ahead is the 55 machine of Phil Parsons, and indeed that car working very well for Phil.
Yeah, they've caught up to Kenny Wallace, who started on the outside pole. Kenny, a rookie this year, younger brother of Rusty Wallace, who's trying to win the Winston Cup championship, but it's proven that he's a very capable race driver.
We saw some smoke out of the 34 car down in turn 1 just a moment ago, and if you're concerned about maybe an engine problem, it was tire smoke on the Randy LaJoy, the white number 34.
And we'll see a lot of that as the race goes on. Let's go to Jack Arute, who has a report on Bobby Hamilton's problems. Jack?
Bob, you're looking inside Bobby Hamilton's car, and you can see what the drive shaft does to the interior when it starts to come loose. A broken drive shaft puts you out of this race, Bobby.
Well, it looks like a drive shaft blew out of it, Jack. Had never seen one come out the way it did. But as you see it blow to the floorboard about half out of it, got my leg too, but I think they're going to try to get me back out there.
Now, the one good thing about NASCAR rules is they require all drivers to have a steel loop around the drive shaft. If they didn't have that, that drive shaft would have come up through the cockpit and right through the roof.
All right, thank you, Jack. Bobby Hamilton indicating he would like the points. He's currently 13th in the Busch Grand National Racing. And look now at Tommy Ellis and Phil Parsons move to the inside of Waltrip, and Waltrip's car appears to be faltering a little.
Yes, it seems to be slowing down a little bit. He was riding along comfortably in third place there a moment ago, but that whole pack of cars have caught up to him, and now he's backsliding a little bit.
Look at Phil on the inside of Tommy Ellis trying to take third spot away.
And side-by-side racing behind Darrell Waltrip as he gets a little squirrely out of shape and is almost collected by Kenny Wallace.
Looks like Darrell got on the apron and touched it with his left front tire, which upset the car. Up the racetrack he went. Now he's going back.
Well, boy, Darrell's car certainly is not working well like it was there earlier, and he's gotten on the high side of the racetrack, and everybody just driving by him. And Phil Parsons now has worked his way up to third.
We're here on pit road with Eddie Jones, who calls the shots for Darrell Waltrip's car. Eddie, Darrell seems to be slowing down a little bit.
Well, the car's a little loose right now, especially around other cars. When he can run by himself, the car's pretty stable. We're trying to ride.
Well, they're still in the hunt. He's dropped back considerably, Bob.
So when Darrell's car gets with another group of cars, it doesn't work quite as well and gets a little bit loose. Now there is the interval between first and second position. The lead continues to be held by the car on the left. That's Michael Waltrip. And the blue car, number 1, driven by Mark Martin, is in second.
And one of the point contenders in the Busch Grand National Series slowed the last time he went by here on the front straightaway, Rob Moroso. We'll see if he picks his speed back up as we watch the first two cars. That's Michael Waltrip still leading very comfortably. Boy, he really knows how to get around this racetrack, and that car is working well for him.
The number 99 car of Tommy Ellis is running in 4th position at the moment behind Waltrip. In 2nd position is Mark Martin. 3rd is Phil Parsons at the moment. And we asked Tommy earlier in the weekend, does leading the points put more pressure on you for this event here this afternoon?
You know, you get a lot more media attention, obviously, and everybody's always coming around and telling you, patting you on the shoulder and say, boy, you got them now, you know, but you really don't have them. That's like the race last week. They was sitting there behind Bobby Hamilton, my crew, saying, well, we got them now. You don't never really have them until it's over.
Tommy Ellis, a colorful guy, to say the least, on the Grand National circuit.
Very good race driver, too, no question about that. I mentioned Rob Moroso a minute ago, Bob. He slowed for about a lap, and then all of a sudden he picked his speed back up, so he's still running good. Mark Martin has slowed in car number 1, and it looks like some smoke coming from the Carolina Ford dealer's car number 1.
Oh, a tough break for the winner of the Busch Grand National race that we televised at Bristol just a few weeks ago. Mark Martin was running 2nd, but now here he is in the pits. Jack Arute is right there.
And Bob, it's a left front tire that's gone flat on the Carolina Ford dealer's car. Mark Martin's crew going to work. They had a little bit of trouble getting the jack up underneath the left side. They've exchanged the tires. Steve Neal leading the crew here. They're making the exchange, cleaning the windshield, but this is costly for Mark Martin and the Ford Thunderbird. They light up the tires and he's off and away.
Mark Martin goes a lap down to the field because of that unscheduled pit stop. And boy, that tire wasn't flat just on one side. It was flat all the way around.
It sure was.
So Mark Martin will go back out onto the racetrack and get up to speed after an unscheduled stop that finds him a lap down. The top 5, 38 out of 200 laps completed. Michael Waltrip, Phil Parsons, Tommy Ellis, Harry Gant, and 5th is Randy LaJoie. Bob Jenkins, Ned Jarrett, Benny Parsons, Jack Arute, and Dr. Jerry Punch back at Dover Downs International Speedway for Busch Grand National Racing, and the leader is Michael Waltrip in car number 30. He was the pole sitter and has held the lead all the way so far. 39 laps have been completed, and now running in 2nd position is Phil Parsons in car number 55, and Harry Gant runs in 3rd.
So you have 3 regular Winston Cup drivers in the top 3 positions, and Tommy Ellis, the point leader in the Busch Series, running in 4th position, and Randy LaJoie, who took over the ride that Jimmy Spencer started the year in, the Frank Sissy car, and has done a good job in that car coming on late.
Now you see Michael Waltrip approaching some of the slower cars and will be lapping them momentarily.
Michael's trying to check out on us.
He is.
I mean, we've got a TV show going here, and he's trying to louse it up for us.
But remember, Jackaroo reported earlier that the weather does not look real good, and the forecast calls for an 80% chance of rain. So Michael is just trying to put as much distance between himself and everybody else in case we do have a rain shower that would interrupt this event. And there is Rob Moroso in car number 25. You mentioned it a few minutes ago, Ned, about this car slowing down, and now Rob Moroso brings the number 25 into the pits, and Dr. Jerry Punch will report.
Well, just a moment ago, gentlemen, when Moroso drastically slowed on the racetrack, he said the car just shut off on him. He put the car out of gear, tried to refire it. The car fired back up, and now he ran 4 or 5 more laps. Now the car is shut off one more time. He did not have the motor running when he rolled to a halt here in the pits, and the Swisher Sweet Oldsmobile will be in the pits, and they go underneath the hood. Apparently, possibly an ignition problem or something else. One crew member in the car will switch to backup ignition. Robin Moroso, currently in the point standings, will take a tough beating here in the points today. A lot of time lost in the pit. Gentlemen,
on the racetrack, it is Michael Waltrip who is really setting a torrid pace here this afternoon as he has pulled out to a full straightaway advantage on second place Phil Parsons.
And right in front of Michael, the white car in front of Michael Waltrip, that is Tommy Houston, the fellow who is running second in Busch Grand National points. Look, Michael's going to put him a lap down. Going to get him in tough shape, isn't he, man?
Yes, he is. I'll tell you, Michael is setting such a torrid pace, and as Jerry Punch mentioned, the long suit of Tommy Houston has not been the big tracks. I don't know what it is. He can certainly drive the race car on the big tracks, but he just hasn't been able to get enough top finishes on tracks 1 mile and longer.
He'll want to wait for the remaining races on the very short tracks, and of course 2 of those will come at Martinsville, and we'll have the broadcast, the telecast of one of those. Tommy Houston, 12th in the point standings. 12th Busch Grand National start at Dover. His best finish second in 1986. Of course, Tommy Houston is
second in the point standings, only 9 points behind Tommy Ellis going into this race.
This car, the 30 car that we're watching, the Post Serial Pontiac, is owned by Ronnie Silver up in Asheville, North Carolina. Many years of a competitor on the Busch Grand National circuit. A couple of years ago, turned over the car to Michael Waltrip at some of the races when they were able to get the Post Serial sponsorship. And I tell you what, that's been a good marriage between those 2 fellows.
It really has. They've worked well together, and Michael has driven the car well, and he has class of the field here, and Jackaroo is with the car owner.
That's right, Ned. Ronnie, this is a good marriage between you and Michael Waltrip. He's running away from the field.
He's running real good right now. The car's a little loose, but he said it'd be all right. We're just going to try to go to halfway, change the tires, and go to the rest. If he keeps doing this, it's going to be good.
Now, you've driven before yourself. Is it mixed emotions when you find yourself on pit road and not behind the wheel?
I couldn't hear you.
Is it mixed emotions finding yourself on pit road and not behind the wheel?
No, not really. We've been having a big time working with Mike and Chuck Ryder, and he's going to make it all possible. And I've ran about 10 races this year, going to run some next year. Real good.
Let's check in further up pit road with my colleague Jerry Punch. Jerry?
well, Jack, we documented that Rob Moroso was having a lot of trouble. They've now pushed his car back to the garage area. I'm with crew chief Steve Thurman. Steve, what put you out? What was the final problem?
I couldn't really hear, Jerry. But it's a shame the Swisher Sweets Olds was running like a bear, but we had some bad luck. We can't get this monkey off our back. The crankshaft broke on us right now.
Tough break for Rob Moroso, currently fourth in the points. He will fall back even further after today. Gentlemen?
Indeed, a tough break. Moroso has had some real problems recently after being a leader in the division. Number 82 is driven by Kyle Petty. That car started 22nd and is trying to pick off another position. That's Tommy Ellis to the outside. They touch, and luckily both drivers saved their cars, but Ellis and Petty touched coming off of corner number 2.
Yeah, there's a little something hanging down from Tommy Ellis's car. I don't think Ellis saw Kyle Petty coming up on the outside. Randy LaJoy was going by on the inside, and I just don't think that Tommy saw Kyle up there on the outside.
Wow, that was so close to the leader of the point standings. This point standing is worth, what, $100,000 net almost?
It's worth a lot of money, no doubt.
Oh, man, that was close.
Now here comes Kyle working to the inside of Tommy Ellis. That is Darrell Waltrip at number 17 right behind. And Petty makes the successful pass on Tommy Ellis. And now Darrell Waltrip moves alongside here on the main straightaway into turn number 1. Darrell has the position.
It looked like Tommy all of a sudden realized, hey, this is $100,000 we're going for here.
So Kyle Petty. Here it was as the cars came off the second corner 3 wide.
Yeah, this white car is Randy LaJoy. He had made the pass, and Tommy Ellis just started up naturally as you do coming out of that turn. We have caution on the racetrack, but anyway, I don't think Tommy Ellis saw Kyle Petty.
Lap number 53, and the yellow is out for the second time this afternoon in our Busch Grand National race at Dover Downs International Speedway in Delaware.
Well, this will evaporate that large lead that Michael Waltrip had built up.
So Michael Waltrip is still in the lead as they slow down. The pace car will come out. We don't see any car in trouble on the racetrack, probably just some debris that the NASCAR officials will have to clean up. The top 5 at the moment shows that Michael Waltrip has the lead. Running in second position is Phil Parsons, third is Harry Gant, fourth Randy LaJoy, and Ken Schrader finds himself in fifth position.
If you don't like the looks of your car, shoot it with son of a gun.
There are several important areas at a racetrack, and Dr. Jerry Punch has found one of them in this track fact. Track facts are brought to you by Quaker State Motor Oil. The big Q stands for quality. Always has, always will.
There are 2 critical areas at every Winston Cup racetrack, the NASCAR Garage area and the Winston Media Center. Now, the Winston Media Center, beautiful buildings adjacent to the garage area at most racetracks, for example, here at Dover, Delaware, and likewise at Rockingham and Atlanta. That's where all the NASCAR riders and broadcasters from all over the world will gather on days prior to an event. Now, what they do is try to decide what they're going to talk about, and how they decide. Where do they get their information? It's from the walls like this, filled with information on every driver. For example, the Goody's Headache Award. How does that program work? The Busch Pole Award. Texas Pete, a sponsor of one of the Busch Series cars. Whatever you want to know about Bill Elliott and the Coors team. Same thing about the Kodiak team and Rusty Wallace. And occasionally, there's a new car on the track. And you may say, well, who's in the car number 19? Well, that's even answered because there's a brochure to tell you, car 19, who is that? And what's he about? Well, here's where the information is given. But where is it internalized? Where is it finally digested and possibly deciphered for all these riders to make their stories on Sunday or broadcasters? Well, let's eavesdrop a little bit on Bob Latford here from Budweiser and Speedway Scene's Jack Flowers as they're making some final decisions, possibly critical inside information on what may be happening on the NASCAR Tour. Excuse me, gentlemen, what's the decision here?
The lemon.
The lemon Danish versus the prune Danish. Tough work here in the media center.
And now you know where we get all that very important information to put together a race for you here on ESPN. We'll be back with more of our coverage of the Ames Peak Performance 200 here at Dover Downs. Under caution for the 3rd time this afternoon, and this is the reason why. Spin involving number 18, Ken Bouchard.
As he comes off of turn 4, you can see him backing down to the inside retaining wall, hits it at a pretty good clip. The other cars get by, no damage to anyone else.
And here it is from our speed shot, which is located just under the starter stand. You see the car get sideways coming off of corner 4. It may have had a little help there from someone.
From the little Patty Moise automobile.
Now let's go down to Jack Arute, who's with Bill Parsons.
Bill, what put you out of this one?
Well, we lost the cylinder, Jack. I'm not sure exactly what happened. The car was really running good. We started 8th, got all the way up to 2nd. Slow car forced us up high, and we got into the wall a little bit, but I don't think it had anything to do with it, and it didn't seem to bother the car, except we lost the cylinder.
Well, he'll be at it tomorrow in the Winston Cup race, and we're back at it under green flag conditions, Bob.
Green flies, and Kyle Petty maintains the top spot as we get back to racing.
Kyle Petty chose not to make a pit stop that time. Neither did the 34 car. That car driven by Randy LaJoy. But let's report that Mark Martin, who has been so strong early on in the race, had the flat tire. Remember, the left front tire went flat. He got his lap back. He is now in the lead lap.
And Randy LaJoy is now really putting some heat on Petty. In fact, LaJoy, Michael Waltrip there in 3rd, and Tommy Ellis in 4th. All those cars hooked up like they're tied together.
Well, I mentioned a moment ago that Michael Waltrip would like to have a caution flag, but he didn't take advantage of it. He stayed out there, so maybe the car was beginning to come back to him a little bit. If it was pushing, sometimes they'll do that.
The race cars have a tendency, as things go, to get looser or try to spin out more as the race wears on. So you're right. The car might be pushed a little bit now, but Michael feels like that it will be okay 50 or 60 laps from now. That's one reason he may have chosen to stay on the racetrack.
Michael Waltrip, the defending champion of this race, runs in third. The leader is Kyle Petty in car number 82, and then Randy LaJoy, car number 34. Tommy Ellis and Harry Gant running side by side here. Now, Gant is not on the lead lap.
No, he lost at least one lap when he made that unscheduled pit stop.
A car into the wall, several into the wall, as a matter of fact. L.D. Ottinger is involved, Brandon Baker, Kenny Wallace, Bobby Hillen, just a multi-car tangle up in turn number 2.
Paddy Moise is involved in it.
Believe Jack Ingram.
Yeah, one of the contenders for the point championship.
Here's L.D. Ottinger. He's also a contender for the championship. He pulls out, pulls away.
He's driving away. Here comes Jack Ingram also pulling away. The 98 car there is Ron LaMelle from Essex Junction, Vermont, one of the Busch Grand National North drivers. Well, this is certainly the most serious crash of the day, and there is the damage on Jack Ingram's number 11.
Skoll has been his sponsor for a number of years. He'll come in and try to get some work done on that, even though Jack hasn't won since March of 1987. Let's see what happened. It looked like the car number 33, Jim Sauter, and the car number 2 of L.D. Ottinger got together as they went into the turn. There's Mark Martin down on the inside, and look at him go through as the car.
Bobby Hillen, I think that's Hillen spinning around.
Bobby Hillen got knocked around real well. Here it is again from another angle.
That's Jim Sauter in the beige 33. Now, LD spins down the racetrack. Doesn't look like he's hit too much, but I tell you what, Brandon Baker comes in and plows into Bobby Hillen good.
And then Bobby Hillen gets hit also by number 98, Ron LaMelle. Now let's go to Jack Arute with a report on the pit stop by the leader.
Well, Kyle Petty has brought his peak antifreeze and coolant car onto pit road. He's completed the work. They've changed the right side tires. Now here in Busch Grand National, you're only allowed to change 2 tires per caution period, so they've gone to the left side tires this time.
Well, Randy LaJoy is going to beat him out of the pit. You can see the white car racing Kyle Petty down pit road, and Randy LaJoy did beat Kyle Petty out.
3 of the top 6 in Grand National points were involved in that crash up in turn number 2. And that's how series championships are won and lost. I believe everybody is okay. Now there's the Ron LaMelle car, although we do have an ambulance at the bottom of the racetrack.
You know, Ned Jarrett brought out a great point at the beginning of this show, and he said Dover is not a good racetrack for these guys to run for the championship. And this is why, because you can seriously damage an automobile when you're involved in an accident here. At some of the shorter racetracks, you can hit the wall, bounce off, and only suffer minor damage. Here, the damage is always, or most of the time, severe.
So we are under caution because of an accident up in turn number 2, and we'll be back with more right after this.
Which publication tells you about hundreds of great jobs open across the country?
About to go back to green after a very massive crash over in turn number 2. All drivers walked into the hospital apparently okay. Jerry Punch is with one of them.
Thank you, Bob. Brandon Baker, one of the drivers involved in that massive crash over in turn 2, and Brandon standing with me. First of all, are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. Special days in Pontiac's not too good, though.
What happened over there?
Well, I don't know. A couple of them got sideways going into one, and there's just a bunch of smoke. You couldn't see anything.
Well, a tough break for Brandon Baker. Also a tough break for 3 of the top 6 drivers in the Busch Grand National Point Series standings. Jack Ingram has significant sheet metal damage in the left front of his car. Likewise, sheet metal damage for L.D. Ottinger and Kenny Wallace. But they will continue, hopefully, here for the remainder of the afternoon. Let's go up pit road to Jack Arute.
And Jerry, Darrell Waltrip, one of our leaders, had an unusual circumstance occur during the caution. He had his windshield, his goggles break. Had to come out of the pits twice to replace his goggles. I've heard of tires being exchanged, but goggles are too.
Well, you can get some idea of the noise in this place as it's just tremendous. The cars came down for a green flag, and we are back to racing. Now, the number 7 car, the yellow machine that is out in front, is not on the lead lap. He actually is on the lead lap, but at the tail of the lead lap. The leader of the race is number 63, Chuck Bown.
Harry Gant, who is in the yellow car, of course, had made an unscheduled pit stop, but this does now put him back in the lead lap. If he can stay out there and get the benefit of another caution, well, he could be right back in the thick of the battle. Now, Jerry Punch mentioned those top 3 of the top 6 in the point standings. Unfortunately, Kenny Wallace's car was not repairable. He's back behind the wall. I don't think you'll be able to get that car back in, but L.D. Ottinger and Jack Ingram are both back in the field.
Here's a battle between number 99, Tommy Ellis, and number 52, Ken Schrader. That's Ronald Cooper in the silver car, also following this group of cars. Into turn number 1 they go, and Tommy holds off the challenge of Schrader at the moment. Schrader has the line, though, to the inside. This is the battle for 6th position, and Ken Schrader has 6th.
And there we see Kyle Petty on the inside of Tom Peck. And Kyle Petty now, there's Mark Martin. He's blown by these guys. He is now the 2nd place car. And Kyle Petty looks like he might be having some kind of problem because he's easing towards the back.
Mark Martin coming up on Tommy Houston, who is a lap down. Meanwhile, up front, the car number 63 is about to put Harry Gant a lap down. Look at Chuck Bowen in the Nescafe coffee car move around Harry Gant.
Gant tried gallantly to hold off the challenge and to stay on the lead lap, but Bown passed him, and Gant goes a lap down. And now Gant and Houston are running side by side. Both of those guys are not on the lead lap. The number 1 car of Mark Martin is in 2nd at the moment, and he would like very much to get around these guys and set his sights on the leader of the race, Chuck Bown. Here comes Mark working to the outside of Tommy Houston now in the 4th corner, and he will dispose of Tommy. Randy LaJoy in car number 34 comes along. He's running in 3rd spot. We are over halfway of this race. 102 laps have been completed. And here is Ronald Cooper in 56 and Ken Schrader in 52 in a side-by-side duel.
And Cooper drives a little deeper into the turn.
And here comes Tommy Ellis on the inside. He's going to try to take that spot away from Ken Schrader.
Rick Mash there in the blue car, number 22. He's also in the lead lap, as is the number 9 car of Steve Brisson. So all 4 of these cars are battling for a spot. There now, Mark Martin has gotten around Harry Gant and is within just a few car lengths of the leader, Chuck Bown. Quite a race for Mark Martin in car number 1. Remember, he went a lap down in the early going, but has fought back to get back not only on the lead lap, but in a challenge for 1st place.
I tell you what, we've seen that number 1 Ford Thunderbird several times this year. We saw him win the race at Bristol just about 4 or 5 weeks ago. And that car always is just fantastic to get around these racetracks.
And the 3rd place battle there between Randy LaJoy and Kyle Petty as Kyle now passes and Kyle goes into 3rd position. Let's go down to Jack Arute for a report.
Well, Bob, we checked with Gary Nelson, the crew chief on Kyle Petty's car, to see if indeed there was a problem. He said, no, remember, we changed tires. We came into the pits. The other guys in front of us didn't. And it takes a few laps for the tires to gain the heat. He said, about 4 laps, Kyle will be back up to the back. He'll be hunting back to the front. That seems to be what's happening.
The turns here at Dover are banked at 24 degrees. It's only a 1-mile racetrack, and the noise has no place to escape, and it's very difficult to get communications from our pit reporters, try as they may, but hearing what they say, we realize is very, very difficult. A battle for the lead now. Mark Martin right behind Chuck Bown. Let's see if Martin makes a move on him, going down the straightaway. They move into turn number 1, and Mark had to hit the binders quickly to keep from spinning.
He saw Chuck Bown coming down the hill, and he said, oops, I don't think I need to be there.
Look at Chuck Bown's progress. Started 11th, went down to 14th, then up to 7th, and in the lead at the 105 lap mark. But Mark Martin is trying to take over the lead himself. Bown, by the way, a winner here at Dover in NASCAR North competition in 83 and 85, and he's doing a great job of holding off the challenge of Mark Martin. Mark moving to the outside now, trying to find the way around Chuck Bown. They come off of corner number 2 and race down the backstretch, and Mark is going to get him. Martin takes the lead.
Boy, he made a great run off of turn 2. He got the line that he wanted, got good traction, and took off. Here's Jack Ingram, the 5-time Busch Grand National champion. Boy, this is going to hurt his chances. He was only 91 points behind going into this race. Dr. Jerry Punch is with another of the contenders. Jerry?
Well, Kenny Wallace is also here out of the net, and of course, Kenny, how quickly the fortunes can change. You had to park it, and yet that'll hurt your point chances.
Well, you know, the Cox Tree Lumber Ponic was running good all day long. You know, we were 6 in the points coming in here. That hurt us a little bit. I don't know, the 33 car got into another car. I tried avoiding it, and it just didn't work out, you know. Got up into the wall, so ain't much you can do.
That about sums it up. I think much you can do. Kenny Wallace currently 6th in the points. He will fall back in the point standings. And likewise, a man currently 3rd in the point standings, Jack Ingram, has his Skoll Chevrolet in the pits. And the car now overheating as a result of a lot of the sheet metal damage in the front of the car. The grill has been pushed in. They cannot get air to the radiator. And he is sitting here losing valuable time under green. Gentlemen.
So the points battle is going to tighten up even more because 3 of the 6. And here is Michael Waltrip making a pit stop. Michael Waltrip brings the post-serials Pontiac in for a stop.
And this is definitely an unscheduled pit stop. And it looks like they're going under the hood.
Jack Arute, are you in a position to tell us what's going on?
Well, Bob, we're down here, and the engine is not firing on Michael Waltrip's car. They're checking, first they checked the spark plug wires. Now they're going back and they're going to check the distributor as well. The engine just quit. Now they're going to have to pull the baffles off. They're checking the distributor as we speak. Obviously, there's a terminal electrical problem on this car.
Well, that car led the first 55 laps of this race after starting from the pole. At the end of 112 circuits, it's Mark Martin in the lead with Chuck Bown running 2nd. Kyle Petty is 3rd, Randy LaJoie 4th, and Tom Peck is in 5th position. Speedway in Delaware, Busch Grand National Racing. There are the top 3. On the far left of your screen is the leader. Mark Martin running 2nd is Chuck Bown in the red car, and Kyle Petty is 3rd.
Kyle Petty was able to catch Chuck Bown when Mark Martin moved around him, but he hasn't been able to pass him, Bobby. Chuck Bown doing a good job staying in 2nd place.
Bown is indeed doing a fine job of holding off the 2nd place challenge, but can't seem to move in on Mark Martin, who has had just a tremendous battle back from a lap down.
I know that the Hensley family up in Ridgeway and Martin, Virginia must be tickled to death. That's who owns the 63 car, the Nescafe Pontiac. Hubert, the son Jeff, is the crew chief on the car. We've got a great run going here today in Dover.
Let's go down to Jack Arute, who's with Michael Waltrip.
Michael, a terrific run, but you're out awfully early. What happened? Something happened inside of our post-serials Pontiac's engine. I'm not sure exactly what. It just started missing. Got off to a good start. Thing was running real good. Then it got to pushing when we changed tires. We overcorrected it when we changed the 2nd time. But I think I knew what we needed to do to get them at the end. We just never will know, I don't guess.
Having tried a lot of the drivers out there, who do you think has the distinct advantage now that you're out?
Mark. Looks like he and I were pulling away from him pretty good earlier, and once we got away, something happened to him. I don't know what, but he's strong now, and I think he'll probably win the race.
Walter's pick is Mark Martin.
Mark Martin in car number 1 won his first Busch Grand National race for Ford here at Dover in May of 1987. And he has the lead in this 1989 200-miler at Dover, leading the number 63 car of Chuck Bown, who is 2nd, and the car driven by Kyle Petty.
Back in 1987, he was driving a Ford with a V8 engine in it, Bob. And when he won Bristol about a month ago was the first time that a V6 Ford had won in Busch Grand National competition.
There's the interval between 1st and 2nd position. You can see that Mark has a rather comfortable lead at the moment over Bown, who has been able to maintain that 2nd position despite a pretty good charge by Kyle Petty.
Randy LaJoie running in the 4th position, and Tom Peck, another good run here at Dover today, running 5th.
The number 99 car of Tommy Ellis and the 52 car of Ken Schrader have been running together on the racetrack for several laps. This is the battle for 8th spot. Tommy Ellis in number 99, Ken Schrader in 52. Now with 3 of the top 6 in points having been involved in a crash over in turn number 2, Tommy Ellis stands to really gain some ground in his defense of the Busch Grand National title.
He sure does, and Tommy Houston, his closest competitor, has not been able to mount a charge this afternoon. His car's not running very well, so Tommy Ellis in that number 99, the yellow, the red, and black car looking awfully good this afternoon.
Well, Tommy Houston currently being shown in the 15th position, 1 lap down.
Ken Schrader, number 52, owns this car. Occasionally it's driven by Brian Ross in some of the Busch Grand National races, but Ken deciding that he will drive it this afternoon. running a higher line than Tommy Ellis in the 99 car.
I don't think that car is handling too well. He's trying to search for a place on the racetrack that will be reasonably comfortable for him. That's Ken Schrader in the red there in pizza, car number 52.
Once again, this is 8th and 9th position, and there is Darrell Waltrip, who you see occasionally running back in 10th in car number 17. There's Mark Martin, the leader of the race, as he has now just about 76 more laps to go before another win for this Carolina Ford car number 1. We've completed 124 of the 200 laps that make up the Ames Peak Performance 200 here at Dover. We're zooming out, giving you an idea of how much of racetrack there is between first and second position.
And boy, the second and third position have gotten in heavy traffic. Chuck Bown in car number 63 and Kyle Petty in number 42, but they move around it pretty easily.
That's Patty Moise in car number 45 that they go around there in turn 2.
And she was involved in that big accident, but didn't get too much damage to her car, so she was able to continue. We saw Jack Ingram in the pits not too long ago, and he's back out on the racetrack. You see him in the picture there. He's several laps down, but still trying to make as many laps as he possibly can.
I tell you what, you know, Mark Martin's leading this race and just driving away, but I want to tell you, folks, he is blessed to be in this race. Now, watch this. This is the big accident that happened just a moment ago. Back in all this smoke, you see the one car just, he completely disappeared. Watch this, folks. He gets hit. There, Bobby Hillin hits him, bumps a little bit. L.D. Ottinger spins down in front. Brandon Baker comes and luckily runs in the back of Hillin. Mark Martin, look at the windshield or hood or whatever it goes on. Now, along comes another car, the Lamel car. He runs in the back of Hillin. He can't get to Mark Martin. He drives away. He's leading the race.
That is amazing that he got through that, and he was right in the middle of things. I don't know whether you could credit him with knowing where to go or not, because in that kind of a situation, you just kind of have to hold your breath and point it in some direction, don't you guys?
He couldn't see a thing. He was all in that smoke. He couldn't see a thing.
But nevertheless, he survived that multi-car tangle up there in turn number 2 several laps ago. And by the way, no injuries received by any of the drivers in that fracas.
And while we were looking at that replay, Rick Mast made an unscheduled pit stop.
Mast was running in 7th position, but made an unscheduled stop. And so Mark Martin in number 1 continues to show the way in the Ames Peak Performance 200. Chuck Bown running in 2nd position. It's Kyle Petty 3rd, Randy LaJoie 4th, and Ronald Cooper, who started 13th, has moved up to 5th at the end of 130 laps. But the car has a broken valve spring. And so the number 63 car of Chuck Bown that is in 2nd position, and here he comes in the red machine, will be trying to close in. But right now, Mark has got a pretty good lead.
Yes, he does have. In fact, it's almost 6 seconds now. He had closed it down to about 4, but when he got up into that heavy traffic that Mark Martin had gone through, then he slowed down a little bit.
And Mark Martin, what he needs right now is green flag racing. No more caution flag, because the problem that Jack Arute mentioned a moment ago, the broken valve spring, if he has a caution flag, big trouble. Jack Arute, is there more trouble?
Yeah, Benny, but he also needs about 5 gallons more fuel on the tank. They are going to have to pit on lap 183. And under green flag conditions or caution conditions, that's going to close the field up considerably.
All right, so despite the fact that Martin has a comfortable lead at this moment, don't go away, friends, because this race is far from over. And 2 problems are plaguing the leader, a broken valve spring and the need for fuel with less than 20 laps to go. Here's 2nd and 3rd. It's Bound in the red and white number 63 and the blue Peak machine driven by Kyle Petty.
Well, Kyle has not been able to do anything with Chuck Bown since we went back to green flag racing. He caught him, but has simply not been able to move in on him. And Mark Martin hanging on to Rick Mast. And Benny doing a little bit of drafting on Rick Mast. That'll help his cause.
That will help his cause, certainly. He's able to go through the corners just as well as he ever has been able to. 5.5 seconds. That's the interval between Chuck Bown and Martin Martin. We'll have to check it in a couple of laps and see if Chuck and Kyle Petty is able to close up on Martin.
We'll check it again. Here comes Mark Martin off corner number 4 as he crosses the line. We'll get the clock going again. Here comes Bown and Petty. Clock stops, 5.4 seconds.
10th of a second. Hardly anything. So we'll just have to wait and see in a little bit if Mark Martin's problems compound themselves. Sometimes they will. When you start having engine problems, normally they don't get any better. They just simply get a little worse each and every lap.
And he has to hang on about 40 laps, 41 laps to be exact, 159 completed. Let's go to Jerry Punch. You can talk about this second place car driven by Bown.
Well, gentlemen, time is running out for Chuck Bown as far as the fuel consumption is concerned. I just talked to Jeff Hensley, the crew chief on the car. They can only make it about 8 or 9 more laps on fuel. They will have to pit if they don't get a yellow flag in the next 5 to 7, maybe 8 laps. They'll be coming down pit road. So apparently they will have to get some gas. They will not be able to make it to the finish, but they are not going to take on new tires, just fuel only. Gentlemen?
I've checked with Kyle Petty's crew chief, Gary Nelson, and what he said is they're going to have to pit as well. So we're going to see this thing won or lost on pit road today. They figure that they're going to come in with approximately 20 laps to go.
So all 3 that are running up front right now must come in for fuel before the conclusion of this event.
And Mark Martin has to be the loser in this situation because he's not able to get back up to speed as fast as the rest of the fellows because he's missing the cylinder.
Mark Martin would like very much for there to be a caution over this racetrack for debris or whatever in the next few laps. So look at the top 5 now with 162 laps completed. It's Martin still leading with Bown second, Kyle Petty third, running fourth is Ronald Cooper, and Ken Schrader is fifth.
Filtered and Beechwood aged for over 110 years.
Dover Downs International Speedway in Busch Grand National Racing, where Mark Martin in car number 1 continues to hold on to the lead. He is going to need a fuel stop, however, in the next, well, within at least 20 laps and maybe sooner than that. He also has a broken valve spring on the car.
He's got all kinds of problems, Bob.
He does.
He's still got the lead, unfortunately.
That's all that counts right now, but more importantly is lap number 200 when the checkered flag falls. Now, what's going to happen when he does stop, Benny, and how will this broken valve spring affect him?
Well, as I mentioned just a moment ago, Bob, he's not going to be able to get back up to speed because the thing's on 5 cylinders. Maybe not. Oh, 63, Chuck Bown, second place car in the pits, and Jerry Punch is there.
Chuck Bown tries to get the car stopped, and the car is shut off now. He may have run out of fuel. They put gas in the car. They have not been able to get the car refired. Now the car fires and sputters and refires again. He is down pit road. A total of about 14 seconds here, but it was a valuable 14 seconds here under green.
Well, Jerry, it didn't look like they put very much in. Is that enough to finish the race?
Well, they really don't know, quite honestly, Bob. They got a little bit in, and the gas man puts his hands up in the air right now. He looks at me and says, hey, I don't know. Maybe 2 gallons at most. That may not be enough.
Boy, it sure didn't look like it to me, did it, you guys?
No, it didn't look like they got very much gas in it. I don't know. And then the car died, as Jerry reported, and that cost him a few extra seconds. So, boy, he has a lot of making up to do now.
That's Chuck Bown in car number 63, who was second before the fuel stop.
I don't think they got enough fuel in it. I don't think he can run another 30, 35 laps on the fuel they put in that car.
Here is Martin, right behind the 22 car of Rick Mast. Getting an interval for you once again between first and second, and now with the pit stop by Chuck Bown, this number 82 car, driven by Kyle Petty, is in second position. But as you saw, it's almost a full straightaway advantage for Mark Martin.
still on. There's Harry Gant. He looks like he ran out of fuel, didn't he, Ned?
He must have. He looked like he's coasting.
Now he's going back out the pit road, but he was coasting just a moment ago. I think he ran out of fuel as well.
Hasn't been a particularly good race for Harry Gant, as you normally think of him as being tough to beat in any Grand National race, but things have not gone well for him today. Mark Martin still in the lead. Gant started in 9th position, never led. There is Mark lapping the number 8 car of Bobby Hamilton, who, as we mentioned earlier, the most recent winner in Busch Grand National competition.
And he just put a lap on the Tom Peck automobile, who is running 7th spot. So only 6 cars in the lead round.
Besides Martin, it is the number 82 car of Petty, Ronald Cooper, Ken Schrader, and Tommy Ellis. And there is Darrell Waltrip and Ken Schrader. Or make that Rob Moroso in 25.
And not too far behind them is the leader, Mark Martin. So Darrell Waltrip in danger of going a lap down.
There, Mark Martin, the last car in those string of cars.
Car number 9, Steve Griffin, has come into the pits, and there was a lot of fire. You can still see some of it burning underneath the engine department.
Indeed, the flame is very obvious, and when they raise the hood on the car, they're surprised to find that there is a lot of flame. That's Steve Grissom from Gadsden, Alabama. Jerry Punch is right there.
Well, it looked like a routine pit stop for Steve Grissom as he brought the car in, and the car just came to a halt and suddenly fired from beneath the car. Let's get a quick comment with him here. We walk up and he's getting out of the car. Steve, what happened out there? Where did the flames come from?
Jerry,
where did the flame come from?
I don't know. Must have busted a fuel pump or something like that. I don't know.
Well, certainly he climbed out of the car. He is not burnt. As you can see that the car behind us being pushed away has been scorched in the engine compartment. A tough break for the Texas Pete hot sauce of Pontiac.
Mark Martin leading the Ames Department Store Peak 200 here at Dover Downs International Speedway. There is Tommy Ellis in car number 99, and Mark is about to put a lap on Tommy.
Well, he wants to put a lap on him, but I'm not sure he's going to be able to do that with the engine problems that he's got. But he goes through the corner so well. Look up on the outside.
Come on, guys. Now, we've been talking about Mark Martin's engine problems for 20 laps, and I see absolutely no evidence of there being any problem. But, of course, we'll find that out later.
Well, I'll tell you, it's hard to believe that he has lost a complete cylinder. He might have slowed some. He got trouble up here. One car blowing an engine, it looks like.
The number 34 car, Randy LaJoy, smoking badly here on the main straightaway, and the NASCAR officials are checking the car closely to see if there is fluid coming from it. In any case, LaJoy takes the car off of the racetrack to make sure that he doesn't spread any oil if there's some coming out. And here now is Darrell Waltrip going a lap down at number 17.
Well, he was hoping the caution would come out, and he stays ahead of Mark Martin, and it does look like he has more horsepower on the straightaway. But when you lose one cylinder out of 6, I'll tell you, it really takes away a big percentage of your power. But Mark Martin getting around this racetrack at a good clip for whatever is wrong with that engine.
Well, maybe he's got 5.5. You know, I won't say he's got 5. Maybe he's got 5.5.
Let's go down to Jackaroo in Waltrip's pit.
Well, Mark Martin will be coming onto pit road shortly. He has a valve spring that's gone awry. That's all. So he's about 5 3/4. They come in for a gas and go. They go to connect it, and they miss the hole. The gas man went to connect it, went up by the windshield, by the rear window in 6.0, but he could have had it in about 4 seconds. Now, the thing to remember, gentlemen, is of the front runners, one car does not need to pit. Believe it or not, Darrell Waltrip. Remember, he had to make a late pit stop during the caution to change his goggles. They say now, because they were out of sequence, that they're going to be able to go the distance without a pit stop.
Well, okay, the plot thickens.
Yeah, and you wonder if they got enough fuel in that Ford, even though they just have 23 laps remaining. They didn't get very much gas in that car.
I tell you what, there's no way in the world they got enough fuel in that car for him to run the rest of the way. And there's the leader of the race, Kyle Petty, the Pete Pontiac. He's now the leader of the race, but the reports in the pit says he's got to stop and get some fuel.
But for the moment, Kyle Petty from Randall, North Carolina, has the advantage over everybody else. the number 17 car of Darrell Waltrip. There he is. And Jack Arute reports he is not going to need a fuel stop.
And Ronald Cooper, the second place car, apparently ran out of gas as he came off of turn 4. He was running second behind Kyle Petty. We'll see if he's going to be able to coast around to the pits. But Ronald Cooper, as we watch Darrell Waltrip and Rob Moroso there, but Cooper's car just slowed. He's going into turn 3 over there now, but he will make it back to the pits. But I was about to ask the question, well, what about him? Is he going to be able to go? But apparently not.
Well, Rob Moroso, remember, is not on the lead lap. He lost several earlier in the race, but he's staying right in there with Darrell Waltrip, who is our 4th place car at the moment. Let's go to Jerry Punch.
Well, gentlemen, I was about to say that Ronald Cooper has probably got the best bet of winning his first super speedway race ever because he doesn't have to pit for fuel. You know, he didn't have a problem with fuel at all, and he knew that both Kyle Petty and Martin Martin were going to have to pit. But the best laid plans, of course, what Ronald Cooper's problem may be now is possibly an axle. We'll check in one of the crew members to maybe see what the problem is. What exactly is wrong? We're here with Mike Brown in the Cooper pits. What's wrong with the car?
Ran into the jaw. The 34 car dropped the motor a little while ago, and we got down in that oil, and he just got real loose and lost the position, but he's okay.
The car's okay. And you guys do not have to come in for fuel, right? You do not have to pit for gas?
No, we got plenty of fuel.
So Ronald Cooper will be able to make it the rest of the way. If he can get back up toward the front, he may have a shot at a top finish or possibly even a win. Gentlemen?
All right, thank you very much, Jerry. So there is Cooper in number 56, who has fallen back now to fourth position. Yeah,
he really slowed him. Apparently, when he got, I didn't see him get sideways in that oil, and just saw him recuperating from it, I guess. But he was really going slow, and I thought he was coming into the pit.
We've got less than 18 laps to go now, and Kyle Petty continues to lead in car number 82, but he'll need a pit stop very shortly. Let's see if this is going to be the lap. Nope, he stays out there. It's going to be interesting to see who can survive this 200-miler with the fuel situation the way it is.
Well, if I know Gary Nelson the way, if he's operating the way he used to, he'll gamble it.
Yeah,
he'll
probably.
He runs out.
Well, maybe not. There's the sign.
Old John's got the sign up. Says it looks like Kyle might be slowing down.
Yep, here he is, breaking off corner number 4. Bringing the car in. His pit is one of the first ones up toward turn 4. Jack Arute.
It was a quick yes and go for Kyle Petty, the best of the front runners, in a 3.8-second stop, 2.8 seconds, and they hit the hole properly and got the fuel in.
But Jack, as he goes out of the pits, Mark Martin goes by. Mark has been running good. He had gotten back up to 3rd place after making his pit stop, and he went by Kyle Petty, so Mark Martin will be ahead of him.
So the leader of the race now is the 52 car, Ken Schrader, right in front of Mark Martin. So this could be a race for the lead.
There he is, crossing the line. Ken Schrader, car number 52, with 15 more laps to go. But there is Mark Martin in number 1. Does Mark have enough fuel in that car to go the distance, though? That is the question.
Yeah, they didn't get very much in him, but Ken Schrader hasn't stopped either,
right.
So I wonder what his plans are.
He's going to undoubtedly have to stop for some fuel. Now there is Mark Martin. Boy, that car's still handling well, isn't it?
I'll tell you, it really is when you make a move like that.
But then was that unbelievable the way that he just drove down to the inside of Dana Patton? Wow.
Let's go to Jack Arute.
Bob, listen to this. Your leader, Ken Schrader, he is going to be able to go all the way as well. So this is a battle for the front spot between Schrader and Martin. Nobody back on pit road.
All right, good information, Jack. So it's going to be a battle on the racetrack and not a battle in the pit area. As Ken Schrader leads with 14 laps to go. Martin is second, then Ronald Cooper, Kyle Petty, and Darrell Waltrip.
If you're over 30 and single, you can find love and romance, just like I did. Right here on the telephone, at the Romance Hotline. Just call this number, and all you have to do is listen. You'll hear recorded messages from exciting singles over 30, looking for love and romance.
Call now or anytime, 24 hours. The Romance Hotline, 1-900-909-8000. $2 first minute, 45 cents additional minutes.
Why not call now? All you have to do is listen.
A few words on business and change.
The journals are daily, and that gives you a real competitive advantage. It's very tough out there, but
the Ames Peak Performance Women's 200 Busch Grand National race at Dover Downs International Speedway in Delaware. We are in the closing laps. There are only 12 more circuits to go. The leader is Ken Schrader. Second place is the number 1 car driven by Mark Martin. Both apparently have enough fuel to go the distance, and there is the interval between the two. Schrader off the 4th corner, completing lap number 189, 11 to go.
I'll tell you what, I would think that probably Ken Schrader has as much gas as Mark Martin because they put very little fuel in that number 1 Ford automobile.
Ronald Cooper still running in the 3rd position. Kyle Petty 4th after his pit stop with just 10 more circuits to go.
This is only Ken Schrader's 9th Busch Grand National race of 1989. There you can see the interval. It's only just a little more than 1 second that separates these front 2 cars. Ken Schrader's best finish at Dover, a 3rd in 1988 in Grand National competition.
And folks, I hate to kill our party, but I believe Mark Martin's problems is getting worse.
He appears to be falling back.
He's just not able to mount the charge that he was a moment ago.
Well, he lost about 0.3 of a second, not all that much, but when you're talking about 8 laps to go, it is a lot.
Yes, it certainly is. He needs to be going forward, not backwards.
Ken Schrader could add his name and become the 11th different winner in the last 11 Grand National races.
16th this year.
Amazing, the competition in this division. An interval again. Yep, he's still slipping back. Lost a 10th of a second that time.
Yeah, you can see him down the straightaway. The car just not going like it did a moment ago.
And he doesn't have the advantage of the draft when he was running behind Rick Mast a little bit earlier, which was helping him some at that time. He never got close enough to Schrader to pick up a draft on him, so he just put her out there running by himself, and so not helping his cause much now.
There are 6 laps to go. 6 to go. The number 82 car of Kyle Petty is running 5th. There's the 22 car of Rick Mast, but he is not on the lead lap. Petty runs side by side with him, nevertheless. That 99 car of Tommy Ellis, ooh,
he's slowing down.
Yes, he does. 5 laps to go. There's Ronald Cooper now on the far left of your screen. He is in 3rd place.
And Kyle Petty now has moved up to 4th place in the car number 82, and he is moving in on Ronald Cooper. Now, whether he has enough time to catch him and pass him, don't know.
4 more laps to go. Make it 4 to go. Here is Kyle Petty. That's Jack Ingram in car number 11. Schrader, car number 52, the leader of the race, moving through some traffic there in the 3rd turn. Bobby Hamilton in number 8, not having nearly the day that he had at Richmond when he won. There, 2nd place, Mark Martin. Tommy Ellis did come in to pit road. We observed him slowing down here on the main straightaway. He did come in for a pit stop while we watched the action on the racetrack, with now 2.5 laps to go. There's the interval once again, Schrader and Mark Martin. The crowd rises to its feet here on the main straightaway with now 2 laps to go. Next time they'll get the white flag.
I tell you what, this is a dramatic moment because I don't know if Ken Schrader's got enough gas or not.
We're gonna know in just a few moments. There's Ronald Cooper in 56 on the left, and now Kyle Petty on the right of your screen. That is 3rd and 4th position, and that's how close they are. It appears as if Kyle is able to pull in and close the interval between himself and Cooper in the corners. The white flag is out. There's 1 more lap to go, and there is Ken Schrader. Out of corner number 2 on the last lap of the race. He's got half a lap to go now as he brings the car into the 3rd turn. Here is Mark Martin also into corner number 3, but it appears as if Ken Schrader from Fenton, Missouri is going to win. There's the checkered flag. Schrader wins. Martin 2nd. Here comes Cooper in 3rd and Petty 4th.
You know what? Mark Martin looked to me like he stuck his hand out the middle like he thought he had won the race. I don't think he realized Ken Schrader won this race.
Well, Schrader was also waiting as he came down the straightaway. He was well aware that he was the winner of the race. Let's go to Jack Arute, who's in the winner's pit.
Well, I'm with Tim Cahoot, who calls the shots on Kenny Schrader's car. Congratulations, a great win.
I can't believe it. This is unbelievable. We talked about doing this. We were coming up here joking around and we were going to win. And everything worked out really great today.
Now, Tim, who made the call on staying out on fuel? Was it you or was it Kenny?
Well, Kenny did a real good job today. We worked from the time we got here just to get in the car real good for the race. We knew if we just run a good, smooth race. The motor in this car had 3 races on it. It's a super motor. Hendricks built it for us. Just glad for the Red Baron people because they've been with us all year and we finally got to show them something.
Well, Bob, they're on their way to a well-deserved victory lane.
Indeed they are. Back in a moment from Dover Downs International Speedway in the Ames Peak Performance 200.
There are a number of ways to get a safer ride, like always fasten your feet belt.
Feet belt?
And never ride on worn shocks and struts. They can allow your tires to lose contact with the road, resulting in a loss of control and braking. Get a new set of Monroe Gasmatic shocks and struts. They help your vehicle hold the road.
Hey, I feel safer already.
So do I. For a smoother, safer ride, America rides Monroe.
How do you keep a major city running smoothly? Atlanta does it with Quaker State Motor Oil. In every fire truck, every police car, every Atlanta city-owned vehicle.
The big Q stands for quality.
Round and round they go. And how they'll finish, nobody knows. But most NASCAR winners know there's only one way to start. With the same die-hard battery you can buy for just racing around town.
Finally, a perspective on how it really feels to do cocaine. From the inside.
The top 5 finishers, Ken Schrader is the winner. Mark Martin finished in 2nd position. 3rd was Ronald Cooper. 4th, Kyle Petty. And 5th, Darrell Waltrip in the Peak Performance 200 Busch Grand National race here at Dover this afternoon. Our winner's circle interview being brought to you by the Sears Die-Hard battery, now with more power when you need it most. Here's Jerry Punch.
Kenny Schrader climbs out of the Red Baron Chevrolet, gets a shower here, a big a Gatorade and Busch here at Victory Lane. Kenny, congratulations on a great win.
Well, I'll tell you what, the car worked good all day. We had a little trouble with the radios, and we had a little trouble with the wire, and the insulation started dripping down on my shoes, so we turned all the accessories off, and I just got to thank the guys who worked so hard on the car, and especially Red Baron and Exxon, AC, Spark Plugs, and Chevrolet, because without their help, we sure couldn't run these old cars.
They were dropping out one at a time with fuel problems. Were you concerned about fuel mileage getting the old Chevy home?
I was, but my crew chief, Timmy Cahoot, he kept saying, don't worry about it. Just keep looking in your mirror and don't let nobody come. He said, just run your pace. He said, we'll make it. I was worried. I guess he wasn't, though.
That's the same guy did the wiring job, though, too, that was telling you that.
I tell Timmy I don't have much confidence here. I said, the insulation off the wires under the dash is dripping down on my shoes right now. So turn everything off. You'll be okay.
Kenny Schrader at Victory Lane takes the win here in Dover, Delaware. Bob?
And it was his first ever win in Busch Grand National competition and only his 20th start. A great afternoon for Ken Schrader, who comes home the winner in this Busch Grand National race here this afternoon at Dover Downs International Speedway in Delaware. Our Speed World coverage has been brought to you by Budweiser Beechwood Age. For that clean, crisp taste, this Bud's for you. By Dodge Cars and Trucks. On the street or off the road, it's the new spirit of Dodge. By Quaker State Motor Oil. The big Q stands for quality. Always has, always will. And by the Die-Hard battery, now with more power when you need it most. My thanks to Ned Jarrett and Benny Parsons in the booth, and Jack Arute and Dr. Jerry Punch for their assistance on pit road. The winner again this afternoon here in the Peak Performance 200 Busch Grand National race was Ken Schrader. Thanks for joining us. This is Bob Jenkins. So long, everyone.
In 13 cities and 10 countries across the Pacific, they're playing our song. United Airlines, rededicated to giving you the service you deserve, halfway around the world. Come fly the friendly skies.